So this is the part where we shoot the shit because it's just for Patreon members, and you can make swears here, but I prefer not to for the live show, just so we keep that clean sticker, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least like the first half an hour, you know, to where.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
Because, you know, once we get hot, you know, the D's and the F's and the, you know, once we start talking about the Rancor and the market.
You bring all the D's out if you mention the Rancor.
The F's and the FU's and they all start flying.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. It's accurate.
Yeah. And I think it's funny sometimes when you don't bleep it out, like one or two slips by, you know, so.
You know, it's funny both ways, and it's really hard to tell sometimes. Is it funnier if I bleep it, or is it funnier if I don't bleep it? And it's real tough. And sometimes, where I think there was one I did where it was funnier unbleeped, but I already spent all that work bleeping it, and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna leave it. I'm too lazy. I'm just too lazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one day when one of us gets really mad and we do like 8 F-bombs in like a minute, we just like beep, beep, beep.
Just one long beep.
The stupid double pin on the elbow, beep, you know, stuff like that.
You gotta do like in that one SpongeBob episode where they just use different sound effects and just use different like R2D2 and lightsaber sound effects.
Right.
Whenever there's a swear.
Oh, I should change it to a Star Wars sound. That makes way more sense.
Yeah, like a lightsaber. Sure.
Yeah, or like a blaster or something. Oh man, I'm dumb. I'm so dumb.
So now we have to cuss. We have to cuss like multiple times this show,
just so I can add them in.
Yeah,
can add the. And like the AT-AT, you know, like shooting the blasters.
You can go back and re-edit all the older episodes.
That's it. I'll just re-upload them. Screw the downloads they have already.
Right.
Yeah.
For this one joke.
Yeah.
It works out pretty good though.
Maybe I'm the one doing all the work.
Yeah.
That's true. Hey, if you want to teach me how to edit some audio, I can do. I did video in college a little bit, but
for the most part, this show's a breeze. Like other than lining up the audio tracks so they all kind of match up, the rest is literally just making sure it all just kind of finishes. I guess it's very easy to do this. There's a little work into it, unless you make a lot of swears, in which case, you.
I'm excited for the. Oh, that's not going to be lightsabered out. That's
no. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do it just for the Patreon members.
That's true.
Patroners.
Yeah. Can't wait to see that.
Landspeeder Luke just got into a car accident. A Landspeeder accident.
Yeah. Wait. What just happened?
He got shot down by an X-wing.
Actually, so we had a question. Okay. Is Landspeeder? Yeah. Is Landspeeder your actual name? Like, did your parents, are they really big Star Wars fans? And they were like, this is our son, Landspeeder.
No, but Luke is my name. And the other night I went to pick up some food, and it was a restaurant, and they were like, one of those where you do the whole order and it's like, create an account, like as you're about to submit the order for pickup. And I was like, oh, come on. So I put in my Landspeeder Luke email address. And so when I got up to the counter, the guy was like, oh, you have an order for Luke? He's like, Landspeeder Luke. And I was like, what? How did you know? And then he was like, I was like, oh yeah, that's on the order. And he's like, is that a Star Wars reference? I was like, yeah. He's like, nice, man.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
It'd be weirder if he like recognized the name from like Instagram. He's like, are you the Landspeeder?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened once at I went to a toy shop in San Francisco, and I was talking to the guy for a bit, and I was like, hey, you look familiar. I was like, what's your username? And I told him who I was. He's like, you're Landspeeder Luke. That was the only time I ever felt famous.
It's weird, right?
But yeah.
Yeah.
I did. I went to some random pop-up toy show that was like 45 minutes away. And I was like, you know what? I got nothing to do today. Like, I'll go check it out. And I found some like Game of Thrones figures for $5 that I bought for some customs. But there was a guy, and his whole booth was just 3D printed stuff. And I was like, oh, let me see if I see any of my stuff. So I'm kind of looking around. I didn't see anything. And then I heard him talking to another guy, and he was like, oh, yeah, I saw that file. I think that was one of Landspeeder Luke's files. And I'm just sitting there like 2 feet away from him. And I was just like, just in my head, I was like, oh, my heart raced for a second, and we were like, what? And then I just walked away, and I was like,
that's funny.
That was wild. Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
I had a similar thing happen, not to me, but I was that other person. I was in a bar waiting. We were going to go see a band play, and we were like eating and drinking before the concert started. And at the end of our table, because it's like a long kind of communal table, was this one guy in this weird floppy hat by himself, just eating a burger or whatever, drinking a beer. And like my friends and I are all talking about the band we're going to see, which is Electric Six. I don't even heard of them, but it's a fun little band. But I'm like, oh yeah, man, I've pirated all their music. I'm looking forward to actually buying some of the like directly from them. And the guy at the end of the table turned out to be like their guitar player. So I'm talking about like how I've pirated all their music and stuff like this.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm a good guy. But I did end up buying like 5 CDs from them. So it was
great. That makes up for it.
Yeah, I feel better now.
Yeah, you're ripping off of like local artists who are just trying to make a living, man. It's not like you're ripping off like the Rolling Stones who made billions of dollars, or the Beatles over the years. Like you're ripping off the little guy, man.
See them in concert, man. They don't. It's fine. It's fine. I made up for it, man. I bought all their albums, man.
Okay, you've redeemed yourself, I guess.
Thank you. God.
You've redeemed yourself.
You're the worst.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm keeping up for the little guy,
Yeah, you're a big proponent for the little guy. That's Zach right here.
I am. That's my specialty.
Well,
but anyways, hello patrons. Thanks for...
hi patrons. That's what we're doing this for. We're doing this for you. I hope you're enjoying watching us talk about random stuff. Yeah.
As your very first patron, I speak for all patrons.
The head patron.
That has the delegate to
the head
patrons. The little patron intro is the best part.
Oh, that's good to know.
That is good to know.
Yeah. In fact, it's the only part I listen to. Just kidding.
And then you suck off after.
And then I just leave.
Yeah.
Look, I don't care what you listen to, as long as that monthly payment's coming in. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. That's all he cares about. Just show him the money.
But we do very much appreciate your commitment to helping the show, and all of the patrons who listen. Thanks for your support for the show. And we're up to 24. We got 2 new ones.
That's great.
Since last show. Let me pull up who it is. Hang on.
I think for me, while you do that, I think it's cool we haven't lost any. Because I know
that is the best part.
My biggest fear is someone paying a month and then going like, you know what, this is awful. This is not worth the $5 or whatever, and then pulling it.
I lose about 20% of my patrons each month. Just like, and I see a lot of people signing up again later on, which I get. It's like, they wait for, or like, maybe their printer's down, or they're not able to work for a bit, or they're catching up, because it's like you can't physically print everything. Like I've got 3 printers, so every week, almost all 3 of them are running. So it's like, unless you're doing that, you're not like, you can't really keep up with everything. And so I see a lot of people coming back, but it's kind of fun to play with and just like try to figure out the best way of maintaining that audience and kind of seeing what gets people to stick. And like sometimes I'll post something that I'm really excited about, and I'll get like 1 new patron or something, and then other times I'll post something else and I'll get 5 within the next day or 2, and you're like, oh, hey, okay, that one was pretty popular. But
that is awesome.
It's really weird. The things that you think won't be popular are super popular, and the things that you're like, oh, this is gonna be great, I'm so excited about this, and like no one cares about. It's really weird when that happens, but it happens a lot to me. Yeah,
and I've noticed that a lot of collectors really big into Clone Wars and really big into like anything having to do with battle. So like weapons, forts, barricades, like, because those little barricades I made were so simple and those were so popular. And it's been yeah, it's been interesting to see kind of, because that's also like the thing that I'm least interested in about Star Wars is like the battles and the weapons and that kind of thing. I prefer like lived in interiors and like the ships are also something that I don't really care too much for, but they get requested a lot. And so I showed Zach what I'm working on for April. And it's nice. A prequels vehicle that was the number one requested vehicle, and I outsourced I commissioned it again from the guy that did the N1 speeder for me, and I'm really happy with this. And I worked closely with him to make it really easy to print, and it's a lot of pieces, but I think it's worth it. It's a really cool one, so I'm excited to share that.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to get too into that because that's actually stuff that's good for the show proper.
The main show.
Yeah, the main show. So I don't, but I'm happy I have a little dollop of goodness just for our Patreon supporters for their ears. Like a Dole Whip of deliciosity just for that. So
just for them, yeah.
That's a little Disneyland joke. If anyone's ever been to Disneyland, they got Dole Whip there. It's really good. It's like a pineapple. It's like a non-dairy pineapple ice cream thing.
Is that exclusive to Disneyland, or is it?
It's at Disney World too.
Okay.
I haven't really seen outside that, but it also might just be a Hawaiian thing. I don't know, but it's delicious, whatever it is. So outside the Tiki Room, it's like a hot day in the summer, and you're like, oh my god, I just want to sit down. Always Dole Whip, Tiki Room, and you have like a nice 20 minutes of.
Sounds nice.
Next time I go, I'm getting one.
That's it. All right. Let's just go now. See you guys, everyone. Bye.
Wow.
Bye. Yeah.
Let me know how it is.
Oh no, come on. You're coming. Just leave your wife, leave your job, spend all your money, buy an airplane ticket. We'll go to Disneyland together right now.
I'll sell all my toys. I'll sell all my toys and I'll be there.
Listen, are toys even really that important?
Get out. You're kicked off the podcast. All right, you heard it here first, everybody. I'm accepting applications for, and I need Landspeeder Luke is actually now the new co-host.
Man, I'm just gonna sit over here and 3D print all my own stuff.
Thanks for coming on the show today, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye. No. Okay, well, you know what? I think that's a good place to transition from Patreon only into the show proper. So. Again, thanks to all the Patreon members for being there for us emotionally, spiritually, and financially. So it's nice of you.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And now the off key band starts to play, and it's really annoying, but I like it. I like it as much as I hate it, and it's a weird feeling.
I like it because it tapped into some nostalgia for me that I didn't know that I had. I think because it's like in the Lego game or it's in like Star Wars Galaxies, that old computer. It was just something that I was like, wait, I know this.
Yeah. When the special edition movies came out, they had like a 2 CD set of like the Star Wars soundtrack that had literally every song ever in Star Wars and then like alternate takes to them and stuff. So I listened to that religiously. So I have the music like pretty ingrained in my head. So when I started this, I was like, oh, okay, I want the music to like start the show. Cause like, that's a thing. You start the podcast, there's music. Yeah. But like, I felt like the regular Cantina song was just, it's too expected. It's too obvious. So you go for the road less traveled and the song less played. So that's what I did.
Yeah. We get a lot of compliments for that being the one you chose, Mike. So
I know I'm sometimes you made good decisions. Sometimes don't let that bring your opinion of me too high because I'll just crash it back down. So I like to try to stay right in the middle there. Yeah. Cool. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Star Wars: The Black Series. No, that's not right. Welcome to Black Series Cantina. I'm your host, Mike.
And I'm Zach.
That's right. And today we have a very special guest. We have the famous, the infamous, the 3D printer extraordinaire.
The one and only.
I don't know of any others, but this is Landspeeder Luke.
Hello, everyone.
He did it. He showed
very
up.
First podcast appearance.
Oh. Hopefully not the last, but we'll see how well this goes. Yeah, I'm very honored.
We're honored you chose us to make your debut.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Thank you. Right? Thank you. Yeah, I am happy to be here. And I have been asked to do others, and I turn them down. So It makes it all
that makes
more
me feel even
special.
better.
Yeah.
That makes me feel so good, actually.
That is. I was about to ask if you've gotten any other offers like to
Oh,
join.
man. Yeah. It's not as special if you've never been asked before, but now it's like, through the roof. Yeah.
I keep forgetting that I'm on the podcast, and I keep thinking I'm just listening to you guys because I listen to every episode. And so I'm just like zoning out with you guys in my ears, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to say something.
No, I'm here.
Yeah.
Suddenly Luke gets very quiet, and it was like, "You still there?"
Yeah, we do have breaking news, by the way.
Oh, do we?
Breaking. It's not Yak Face news or anything. It's just for all the listeners out there. Landspeeder Luke's name is Luke. I have confirmation from I have a certain source, and his name is Luke.
I was just gonna call him Landy.
Yeah, that works too.
I do get like spam emails that are just like, "Dear Mr. Landspeeder," or someone called me Mr. Landspeeder that like actually follows me, and I was like, okay, first of all, if you were using my last name, it would be Luke, and clearly that's my first name. Also, like
Mr. Luke.
That's the name part of the name.
But that's definitely not how the Mr. part works. No one calls me Mr. Mike, Mr. Zach,
exactly.
Mr. Landspeeder,
Senor Speeder.
Mr. Landspeeder was my father. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's actually Dr. Landspeeder. I like where this is going so far. This is fun. Well, we have a fun show for you. Obviously, if you can't tell already, we're all in great spirits. Everything's great. Nothing is wrong in the world. Absolutely nothing is wrong in the world, because we're going to spend the next hour or so talking about toys.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what I love to do. I love talking toys.
I love to talk about toys. It's like the one thing I'm passionate about, which is really weird.
But we aren't here to talk about just toys. Specifically, Black Series 6-inch figures. If you want 3.75-inch news, you got to go somewhere else.
Because there is 3.75-inch news. Like there were some pre-orders today, and no one could pre-order them, and everyone's super mad. And as a Black Series collector, I was like, yeah, that sucks. I'm over here just fine, but that sucks.
If you want that news, you got to get on the podcast that I said no to.
Oh, is that it?
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, one of these days recently, I'm going to give a shout out to Out of the Basement crew. I was listening to one of their it's called Figure It Out, right? Every Wednesday or something, I think they do. And like the first half of it, they started talking about like the vintage collection. I'm sorry, guys, I got to fast forward this. I tap a couple times. They start talking about, the news that we got today. So if you want 3.75-inch news, got to go somewhere else. But here, Black Series only.
That's right. I will say, though, just a fun fact, the Out of the Basement episode is our #1 downloaded episode by a lot. So thanks Nate and Justin for helping us out with that.
Yep. So that means also, Luke, you got to do a lot of marketing for us if you want to be #1. You got to go out there and
I'll do a giveaway, and you have to prove that you listened to the whole thing. I'll ask like 3 questions that the answers will be in the episode, and you'll have to and I'll just give away something really cool.
Ooh, make one of the answers be in the Patreon only part. So
there you go. Yeah. Like an extra.
Yeah, that helps us out on the other end. So I like it's like one of those evil ideas. That's also a really good one.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. Well, so the last episode went up a little late. I just wanted to say sorry about that. I was gone.
Very busy.
I was busy. I was at TFCon, and it was a lot of fun. But this one hopefully won't be. So what were you going to say?
I was going to say, speaking of Patreon, I do want to give a shout out to our 2 new Patreon members. We got Donnie and Mark Carp. It ends in a PF. Is that Carp?
I like Carp? It. You know what?
I don't know. But I appreciate it. Donnie and Mark, 2 new patrons. Big shout out to you guys for joining the Patreon.
I like the name. It's a good name. Keep it.
It's a solid name. It's a
solid name. Yeah.
And if for you listening, if you would like to join Patreon, patreon.com/blackseriescantina. Go to my Instagram. Links in the bio. $2, $5, $15, whatever a month. You can join. Get the video version.
So the video version's only in the $5, but you will get great things such as our little intro banter with Landspeeder Luke here that actually went over some really fun stuff that you only will listen to if you watch the video of actually seeing us.
It was a good 15 minutes of content.
It was a good 15 minutes of content. So we like to have extra stuff just for those Patreon supporters. A little something, if you will.
Lots of swearing.
Yeah, that's true. We actually had a whole conversation about that. It was great.
Because you need a credit card to get on Patreon, so that's the 18+ portion.
That's true. You can't be on Patreon as a little baby. If you're a little baby and you're on Patreon, you get out. If you're a little baby and you're listening to us right now, hi, goo goo guy. Well, should we get into fine editions or? The next part. We should talk about fine editions.
Let's have the guest of honor go first. What are your fine editions?
Did you get anything
recently?
Good? So I
also describe it in great detail because we can't see you.
Because you can't say, I got it's all everyone's seen it before. But I had been 100% completionist since the new Galaxy line started.
Okay.
And that wasn't like an initial choice. That was the first time that I found figures in the wild. And I had to talk to the Target employee, and she went in the back and she came out with the Beskar Mando figure. Ooh. And I couldn't believe it. And there was a Stormtrooper and a Tebow sitting on the peg. And it was very, it was just a memorable moment because I just was like, there's no way that there's like another case back there. And so she came out with holding Mando in one hand and the box in the other hand. And I just picked Vader, Mando. I think I left like Akbar, and I left a couple others that I just wasn't like fully in on it yet. And then I later bought this. So I had been 100% of the Galaxy line, including all the GameStop exclusives and whatnot, until just like all the recent Troopers had been coming out on GameStop. And so I was like, you know what? I always find these in person at GameStop. I'm going to give myself something to like some reason to go in and look forward to finding something in store. And so I was visiting family last weekend and walked into a GameStop and found the new Battlefront Trooper. And they had the Night Brother as well, which I'd picked up. I got him for like 6 months ago for like $35 at the Frankenson show in LA here, which is just like
I love that show. It's a great show.
Yeah, there's this one booth that always gets these things like day one,
super early. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I found, and they're price. You're paying $35 if you're ordering one from GameStop anyway, and if you pay cash, it's all in. And so I found like Antok Merrick there. I found. Galen Erso like months ago. Got my Cassian Andor there like way before they showed up here. And sometime like I bought they had Imperial Crosshair there when he first showed up. And I think I paid $65 for him to do as a giveaway just since it was a hot figure. Yeah. But anyway, so it was nice to walk into a GameStop and leave with with something because I honestly think I've done that maybe 3 or 4 times in the 2 years that I've been collecting, and or I guess maybe 2.5. Once was Jar Jar, and then the initial Beskar Mando wave, and so but now I'm having FOMO of the Umbra Trooper since that's all sold out. But I ordered him Fordo and the 212th from Star Action Figures in the UK. And I think it ends up coming out to like around $30-$35 per figure after shipping and after currency conversion and all that. And I was like, those are, they're exclusives, they're sold out. And the 212th, I'm like, I'm not going to do the whole Walgreens drive around with gas prices what they are now. So,
absolutely.
So I was like, it was nice just to have those locked in. I don't know when I'll get them, but and then I also got the Galactic Creatures pack from Disney in the mail yesterday or 2 days ago. The box was a little damaged. I was a little bummed about that, but it's a cool little set. Something about multi-packs I really like. Like I wish they did more 2 packs of figures, even if it was like a re-release, like a build-up pack where it's like, here's Ahsoka and Rex and like a little hologram and a couple extra, just something basic. Is like that Luke and Yoda 2-pack, the amount of like, because it's like, we don't really play with our figures at our age. You know, we just kind of open them, pose them, stick them on the shelf. And so,
I feel
a lot of
personally
times, oh, sorry, shouldn't have made assumptions.
No, that's about right. I just feel bad about it.
Yeah, it's you just take the figure out, you put the gun in the hand, and then you're done. Like you're like, okay, what's next? Let me go check my tracking info for the other stuff.
It's so true.
That like Luke and Yoda pack, it's like you open it and it's like an hour worth of just mixing and matching different things and grabbing little photos of them and that kind of thing. So I hope we see more of that in Black Series. But considering that was on clearance and it's still available, I don't know that that's going to really be a selling point. But I think that's all that I got this week. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's come in. I've got my eye on the Cal Kestis lightsaber from Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, that was a fun announcement. Yeah,
I've been waiting for that for a while.
I have a theory.
Oh,
yeah. So we got the Kenobi show coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of fans are hoping that Cal makes an appearance in there. You know, maybe Obi-Wan is telling him to hide in the trailer. You know what I mean? They announced a Cal Kestis trailer or a saber at Disney, like a month and a half before the show comes out. 2 months before the show comes out. The dots are right there.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're gonna see
Cal Kestis.
I wouldn't
using the actor like.
I wouldn't predict it, but I would.
It feels
like it's the timing. You know what I mean? Is perfect for it. So.
And also,
I think we're also going to get. Sorry, I'm sorry. I know we're also going to get Jedi Fallen Order 2 information
announcement.
Yeah. So
it just feels too. There's only like a couple Jedi left at this point anyway. So it's like we've got the actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly still involved. He showed up to take the picture there.
Yep, right time frame.
Yeah,
for the show.
If you watch the documentary for Jedi Fallen Order, like the Lucasfilm story team is there. They talk to them every single day, and they show up once a week or something like that. But I remember them saying they talk every single day about every little detail. Like that is fully canon, I believe, that game. And with the new coming, it's like. Yep. How could they not tie it in some way, even if it's just for a moment? We even saw Braca in Bad Batch, which was Cal's home planet, and we just got the BD droid in Mando. So it's like they're working on meshing those two stories and those timelines. It just feels silly that they wouldn't bring him in.
He has experience with Inquisitors, and spoiler alert for the game, but Vader, so.
That was
it could happen,
man. That Vader, like, it was not even a fight. It's an escape,
and they did that so perfectly. Hey, you don't actually fight him; you just have to run.
No, it was like my blood was like racing, my heart was racing playing that. It was a lot of fun. I loved it.
I had that moment spoiled for me by a YouTube thumbnail. Like the day that I got to that scene, I was just like I wasn't even following any Star Wars accounts at that time, and it showed up, and I was like, come on.
That sucks. Sucks.
Mike, what are your fine additions for
let's see, where do I
episode?
Start? Well, I'm going to start with one thing that's not Black Series, but still is Star Wars. And at TFCon, I picked up my first ever that I bought, because I've had people send me stuff. SH Figure Arts figure. I got the SH Figure Arts Boba Fett.
Tatooine Rhapsody style.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just, I was just kind of bored one night. I'm like, you know what? I got some guitars, because I got the NECA turtles with the instruments. So I was like, I want to give him a guitar. And then I had the figure of me someone made. And so I took the saxophone from that, and because I play sax in the real life, in the real world. So I just, it's kind of fun. I figured it's going to have a little band thing. But I really like him. There's some weird things in here that I wasn't expecting. So, for instance, his holster here, I don't know if you can really see. I guess I can make myself bigger, because that's a thing that happens. There we go. He has a holster back here. There's a blaster in it, but it's not a real blaster. He comes with an empty holster that you can swap it out for, and a blaster separate.
Oh, wow.
So, I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, why are there like two blasters here? Because I thought that this was really a blaster. It's not. It's just it's a faux blaster in the holster. So, but I like it. It's a lot of fun. It was a little expensive. It's $108. I got it at TFCon, and that's like 4 Black Series figures. So It was a lot, but it was stupid Dan Larson's pictures that he kept posting about it, and I was like, fine.
So question.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get the Boba Fett one? That's the Black Series one. Are you gonna get that one?
No. I'm gonna do a comparison video.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. No, that was my plan. I was like, well, I could get a video out of it, and then it's a write-off on my taxes. So
there you go.
Let's see. Oh, another thing I got that I actually forgot to talk about last week because it took a little while for it to get to my mailbox, or I just didn't check my mailbox for a while. But I got this really cool little pin from some random stranger on
Dang, that's fire.
Oh, I got mine handy too.
Oh yeah, it's a really cool pin from this guy. I think he's an Instagram guy. It's like a ground runner Luke, or I don't know.
It's nice to see you guys. Cannot wait to open them. Just kidding.
I like to keep it like pristine.
Yeah,
thank you.
I like
it's gonna be worth money one day.
I have it sitting like right here on my desk at all times.
My initial plan with those, and I kind of wish I'd done it from the start, was so I actually had the designs ready to go for the orange line, the blue line, and the red line. And so the idea was to get the minimum quantity of the red line, and if I sold enough to make back my money, I would order the blue and orange one and do like a 3-pack. But I think I don't think I sold. Maybe I'm just now breaking even. Like I've been selling one or two, or maybe one a week or so. Like I sold a bunch right off the bat. But I've still got most of them sitting here, and I think I think collectors really like to have some sort of context for the items that they buy. You got to think about where it's going to go on your shelf.
That's true.
And so I think I should have just done a series right off the bat. And I think selling the 3-pack or 3 separate individuals would have been more successful, because then you have a collection, you have an actual, you have the context for it, instead of just like, oh, I'm not really a pin guy, so I'm going to pass on that.
I wasn't a pin guy for a long time, but the course of just doing like loot crates and Geek Fuels and doing those unboxings, I have a huge collection of pins, and I actually kind of like getting pins now. I would never go buy pins, but I have a very large pin collection somehow.
I was just in this local shop near me, and they had I think it was an Entertainment Earth exclusive Loungefly pin set of the 3 original logos for Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi. And I'd seen that online, and kind of they have Clone Wars, they got Mandalorian, and they got some other, like I think Rogue One, but they had sold out of the original trilogy, and I was kind of bummed. And he had it for just $5 over retail, and so I snagged that this week as well.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but see, it's like now I've got the context. So then I went online and ordered the other logo pins as well. So I learned my own lesson.
Well, moving on, I also picked up the carbonized Shore Trooper, and I actually did a video on all of the carbonized sets. If you're listening to this and you want to get my full thoughts on them, but suffice to say, this gold beauty right here, he is resplendent. I really like him a lot. My original order of him was back ordered, and then it got canceled, and then I found one for pickup at a Target, like it's a little bit of ways, but it was drivable. So I did that, and then I drove there, and then I was walking down the aisle, and I saw a bunch on the pegs. So instead of picking up the one I ordered, I grabbed the one off the pegs and canceled the one I ordered, because I was buying other stuff. And I figured I would just buy it all together, not a big deal. But when I scanned it, it came up as $30 instead of $23. So I was like, that's ridiculous. So I flagged the person down, and they adjusted it. But that's my story on how I got that.
Wow.
Then I know. Riveting stories. I'm all about stories. I got the next thing I picked up.
Oh, sorry.
It's all good. I got the General Grievous from Walmart, the Clone Wars all white General Grievous. He's got a new cloak, I guess. It's different. It looks different. It's all different. But other than that, he's just white. I haven't actually opened him yet because I haven't got to him. I've been doing a lot of other videos. I've been actually doing a lot of videos lately. It's been fun, like I used to. And then, I got the Jet Trooper. Woo-hoo. So there's that. And I did a video on that. Because I thought it was canceled, and it turned out not to be canceled. I got a Night Brother. So even though it said canceled, it wasn't. And I got another one of those. And then lastly, but not leastly, I got the creature pack as well, and I love it. I just today, earlier, posted a video on it, so it's empty because I took them all out. And I now have a Salacious Crumb sitting next to my Jabba the Hutt, even though it doesn't say Salacious Crumb anywhere on here. Not here, not here.
It's still, definitely Salacious Crumb.
It's still definitely Salacious Crumb. So he'll be sitting next to my Jabba. And during the course of making the video, I kind of realized how dumb Minox are. Why do they have wings? You don't need wings to fly through space.
It's really inconvenient for the shelf because I'm just gonna like tape it to my wall.
What do you do with it? Yeah.
What
do you prop it up somewhere? Is it just lying on the ground? Like, what do you do with a Minox?
I got a solution for you on my Patreon.
Oh,
actually, I don't know if I still have that. That might have been one. I don't think that's even on my Patreon. It was one of my first files that I downloaded. It was the ramp of the Falcon with the 2 poles and then the little top piece of the Falcon. And I have a clip that you kind of put the Minox wing into, and it bends and it kind of floats, and I was able to get it just right so it stays kind of level, and it looks like it's kind of, you know how those like sideshow statues will have pieces like they'll have like Baby Yoda floating next to Mando, and you kind of hide the place where. So I kind of took that style, but now that it's readily available, I should make something like that. For the
a lot more people are going to be getting Minox.
Exactly.
They probably already have Bespin Hans, so I think it's a good idea.
Yep.
And that's what I got. So your turn.
Awesome.
Oh, wait, right. This thing. There we go.
I'm big now. Okay, so
big mode.
I guess I'll kind of start where you left off a little bit. I also got the Walmart General Grievous.
Nice.
Fortunately for me and you, I noticed you posted it too. They didn't ship it in a bag. They actually shipped it in a box with bubble in there and everything. So really excited about this. Would you say it's a fine edition? This is a very fine edition. This is a top-notch fine addition to my collection. And it really is beautiful. I love the box on it, like the black and the white. It also got me a lot of views on TikTok Live when I was showing it off. So appreciate people tuning into that. That's right. If you want to check out Zach's TikTok, that is at the Star Wars Black Series. Thanks TikTok. For the plug.
You're welcome. I also am Mike Case 82 on TikTok. If you want to see my 2 videos I made, and the last one I think was especially good.
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
Oh, it's just my toy with a saxophone playing Careless Whisper.
Oh, I'm sure that's a hit. And thanks to big shout out to 501st Supply on Instagram. Go give him a follow. He found in the town I actually went to college in. I'm actually trying to get him to go to Nashville with me to ICC Con because he lives pretty close to that. Jet Trooper hooked me up with that, and the Night Brother Warrior. So I tried to get the Jet Trooper. Wait, I'm confused here. Yeah, I went to like 3 GameStops trying to get the Jet Trooper. All were empty. I was even messaging like Justin from out of the basement.
Oh, I would have given you my second one. I've got 2.
Oh well, wow.
I had no idea. I've got 2. I pre-ordered one in store and I ordered one online, and I got both. So.
Wow. Wish I would have known. Well, I think Justin might be needing one, but I'm not sure. I don't know.
If he does, if anyone needs one, I have one that I will put right back in the box and send out.
But you know what's funny about this one? 501st Supply shipped it to me, and then I forgot to cancel my pre-order, and 2 days later, it shipped from GameStop, and I was like...
Oh, so now you have 2.
Yes. So now I have 2. But I never... I still never got this, so... I got this from 501st Supply, so shout out. So I'm going to set those there.
How good is that Night Brother Warrior, though?
Dude, he pops off the shelf like crazy. Like the colors on this.
Good. I cannot wait to get the next one.
The Archer?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Night Brother Warrior is insanely worth it. Like, whenever the first announced, I knew it'd be cool and I knew it'd pop off the shelf, but the color on it, he is sweet. And then I have another one on the shelf finally got my favorite clone of all time, the 501st clone. I think it's my favorite because they look so cool next to Anakin, you know, charging into the Jedi Temple. And they were on the cover of my favorite video game of all time, the OG Battlefront 2, 2005.
Oh, I didn't know
That was a good game. Yep.
So I absolutely adore 501st clones, and I finally have multiple of these. And you have to have multiple 501st clones. You can't just have one 501st clone, right?
Mm.
I mean, you can. You're wrong, but you can.
Correct.
Yeah.
I also got Boss. RC.
Is that Boss Nass?
This is not Boss Nass for the listeners. This is RC. Is it 1138? Am I getting that confused? I don't think I have the box near me.
I don't remember his number.
Republic Commando, the Diet Commando is what we like to call him. Since he is obviously, you know, thinner than how he was in the game. But he looks pretty awesome. On camera he looks really red, but in person he's actually pretty orange. Obviously it's not like a super great figure by any means, but it's actually pretty solid and it looks really cool on the shelf. So I would recommend people actually get this if you want a Republic Commando, because we know at this point they're not going to make a new mold for it. So this is the best you're going to get.
Nope. Yep.
Because they've already announced, you know.
I don't know why I want it. I don't know why I want that figure because I never played the game. Well, I tried to play and I didn't age as well for me, and then I really don't have that much connection to the character. But once I started seeing it in hand, I was like, I want that.
Yeah, and I think when they announced this, that's kind of the point I had on it, because I didn't have too strong feelings about it, not being a new mold, because I don't connect with the character. I never played the game, so he stands in the back of my shelf, and you can't even see him from the waist down, you know, on the shelf. So you know, he looks like good enough on the shelf for me. And then lastly, but not leastly, we have the Umbra Trooper. That awesome black and yellow, and you can see like how the skirt
jealous.
With the ARC Trooper
seething with jealousy over here.
And because the figure is mostly black, like the ARC Trooper mold is so perfect because it just looks like his skirt is black leather. I know it's hard for on the camera, you can't tell, but in person it looks like it's black leather compared to like his shiny boots and his shiny thigh armor and stuff. And I actually put it next to the ARC Trooper Echo. The little ammo pack on the chest is on the other side, so it actually looks like it's not just a straight rehash, you know, of the Echo. So
that's one of those figures that when your friend who doesn't know anything about Star Wars comes over and is looking at your collection and be like, that guy's cool.
Yeah, this dude, he stands out big time, especially next, because all the clones are usually white. You got some blue, orange, you know, a red thrown in there, but this dude, by all the clones, looks absolutely amazing on the shelf.
You need to get a squad of him and the Knight Brothers.
Right? So, yeah, maybe the Knight Brother, this is just him in armor. Maybe people are going to think that when they look at the shelf.
Yes, that's the story. I like it. That's your headcanon.
Yeah, that's the headcanon. So, really, it's like a legendary fine editions for me. You know?
It was a great fine editions. I feel like we all had great fine editions.
Yep. So, you can make me even size now because that's all I got. Had to end it with the Umbra
Thanks
Trooper.
for reminding me. There we go.
Yep. Yeah, the Umbra Trooper is so awesome. He got me a lot of views on TikTok too. So shout out to everybody all the 60,000 people who watched that video. Not to brag or anything.
Boy. Oh yeah, you're bragging a little bit.
Not to brag or anything.
You're bragging a little bit.
You know, I have like 5,900 TikTok followers now, so I'm growing.
Whoa.
I'm the biggest Black Series specific account on TikTok. So I'm actually now I might be more of a TikTok creator than an Instagram creator at this point. So
watch out, everybody.
I gotta change my advertising. Yeah,
that's right.
I thought about making one for my 3D printing stuff just because it's so it's so process based, and I feel like that kind of stuff suits the TikTok format.
People love process based videos on TikTok
because you can really understand. Like even in real life, when I tell people I do 3D printing or like I show them the printers, you see them just going like, what's going on? Like it's so hard to kind of understand. Yeah, they're like, because also then it looks like the printer's doing everything. So like, okay, so what did you actually do?
I hit print.
Like, yeah, it's hard to explain like the designing of the files and everyone. I always get like, oh, so what does that mean? So I think showing like from drawing on the software to airbrush, and airbrushing super satisfying to watch as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. I love when I first started getting like heavily into YouTube, I would watch a lot of customization stuff, like painting and molding, just specifically for that, because it's relaxing to watch. So just sitting there and watching someone work on something like that and seeing it go from nothing into something, it's really satisfying. I love it. So
yeah. And especially on TikTok, like 3D printing is really popular on TikTok. And like the toy collecting community is really big on TikTok. So you're like a mesh of those. I think every action figure customizer also should have a TikTok, because just showing the process from start to finish. And then, you pick like, a trendy song, or like a trendy, like a funny little quirky line that like in a movie that people do. And then that gets you a lot of views too. So, and there's this one guy on TikTok who 3D prints like helmets and weapons, usually Marvel stuff. Like he has his own 3D printed Iron Man suit, and he's put like tech inside of it to where he like touches his fingers and like his helmet opens up and stuff like that.
That's
and
cool.
Just like the videos of him showing how he like build that, like they go insane. So I would recommend it. I think it's a really good platform to spread
TikTok's
your
also
brand.
much better at putting your videos in front of people who aren't following you.
Their algorithm is real good.
So I think I could find a lot more people there. I also like been wanting to make some videos that kind of explain 3D printing to people who have never done it before. So it's like, my Patreon audience is very limited to Star Wars collectors who also have 3D printers. And so there's been a good number of people that have bought printers in order to join the Patreon, because it's like a $250 initial investment to really get started. And you can print a lot of it. And that's like almost the cost of some of the dioramas printed, just because of the amount of time they take. But I think it's one of those things that people see and think, oh, I don't know how to do that. Because before quarantine, I never touched 3D modeling software. I had never touched a 3D printer. And it was actually someone else's idea to get the printer. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Let me see. And I pulled out the iPad and I was like, oh, let me check out, see which software I should use. So I want to really kind of introduce more people to 3D printing, just because it's such a fun addition to collecting, especially to fill the gaps in between stuff coming out, to be able to just make your own stuff and flesh out your shelves.
Yeah, you and I actually talked about that a little bit, about 3D printing and stuff, because I've been thinking about dabbling myself. So.
And it is a little intimidating, thinking about starting it. Like, do you have time to actually design something, or like get the file and actually do it? So
I was printing within 2 hours of opening the box. The first print was going, and I just followed a YouTube video and set it up. And then I was printing my own stuff within like a week of downloading the software.
So did you always have like were you always really good at designing things growing up, or?
I went to art school, and I studied digital art with a concentration of photography. But I had never done any sort of CAD drawing or like anything really. So Photoshop was the only software that I was familiar with. But the software that I use on the iPad is super simple. It's very limited, which is frustrating sometimes. But it's also very approachable because it's not overwhelming. And they have video tutorials. It's called Shaper 3D, and it's free to download. And I think you can save up to 2 files, and then it's like 20 something a month. But I just did that, and I made this like moisture vaporizer that was pretty grain accurate, completely unprintable. That's one of the things that you really have to learn how the printers work and how to split the files and stuff. But it was kind of I was like, if you had shown me this 5 hours ago, I would have never believed that I could have made that, or like that I was going to make this today. Like, it was just such a, from opening the software to then a few hours later having something in 3D. And also there's in everything that I've done art wise in my life, nothing has been more satisfying than sitting on the couch, drawing something on the iPad while watching Mando reruns. And then you go to bed and you wake up the next morning and it's right there in your house. It's a really
that's the
cool
future.
process.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I did this one thing that I'll send you guys, that I was just on the phone with my brother one evening and thought of it, and it's pretty complex. It was like 10 different pieces, and I was on the phone with him. I was like, oh, I just thought of this really cool idea. And by like 2 p.m. the next day, the thing was printed, painted, like ready to go, and it's a really fulfilling experience creatively.
That's cool. I'm kind of right there where you were at the beginning. Like, I have no idea where to even start. So listening to any of this stuff is fascinating to me, and I'm here for it. So before we get too into that, because I had so many questions to ask you. The first one was, how'd you get started 3D printing? So we answered that. Mm-hmm. That's nice. Zach's going somewhere.
Zach's bored.
Yeah, you bored Zach in your story.
I want to jump in real quick because I wish I would have grabbed this earlier. I meant to, but I forgot. A long time ago, I posted, does anybody have like a good stand for a Darth Vader melted helmet? And then literally within like half an hour,
yep,
Landspeeder Luke was like, you remember this, Luke? You remember you made literally within like, was it 30 minutes? You had it like designed and we're printing it. And then, and then this. I know it's kind of hard to tell because I'm also wearing black, but so I put the helmet on
and
there.
then you're putting a black helmet on a black thing in front of me.
Maybe if I get out of the frame and then put it up, it's like, you know, hey, I got this little LED. Hey, look at that.
That looks dope.
There we go.
Yeah.
So
for those video watchers there, they're getting an eye full of it right now.
I just blinded myself. Holy crap.
Good podcast material now.
Oh, it's great podcasting material. Audio wise, this is gold.
But yeah, so Landspeeder Luke is the master.
Now imagine how fun it is when it's your own idea, and then you just think, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool on the shelf to have this? And then like within a couple hours, it's sitting right there. It's pretty addictive.
Could you 3D print your own 3D printer so you have two 3D printers?
I've seen there's a lot of accessories that you can make that you 3D print, and so a lot of people mod their printers with their printers, which is pretty.
That's cool
to think about.
That's really cool.
You would need some computer components, but I think you could print a lot of it.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But
so we have two pieces. I can't make you one.
That was actually my next question.
Right.
So I guess, why did I even invite you on here if you can't make me a 3D printer out of your 3D printer?
Wow. Yep. Gotta kick them off.
Right. We have two pieces of news I kind of want to go over before we ask more questions about Luke. The first is the Yak Face news saying that we're going to be getting more pre-orders coming on April 7th. So that's apparently going to be the next big announcement thing. Do we have any theories on what we'll be getting?
Well, it's funny. He put in that thing. It had Vintage Collection, Black Series, and a Gaming Greats logo, and it said mainline, fan channel, and exclusive. So odds are we're getting another Gaming Greats or two more Gaming Greats. We've
also got a few confirmed pipeline figures and then some rumored figures from Yak.
That's true. What is in the pipeline? Let's refresh everyone's memory because I honestly can't. I think is it Figure and Dan?
We've got Figure and Dan, Princess Leia Ewok Village, Kiadi Mundi, and Ayla Sakura. Right. And then Jesse, ARC Trooper Jesse
that's TVC.
Rumored.
Oh, he's rumored.
I'm on Yak Face's like master SKU list. Yeah. We've got and then we had Clone Wars Mall was confirmed by.
That's right, Clone Wars. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah,
super excited for that.
And then rumored.
Yeah, so maybe we'll get that picture of that finally.
We've got Axe Woves, Din Djarin in the Tank Trooper disguise. Grief Karga Magistrate, which is the red season 2 look, and then the New Republic security droid, which is that the one from the Ahsoka episode?
That's the one
from the prisoner.
The prison break when they're getting the Twi'lek guy.
Oh yeah, we got a squad of 4 of them in the final.
He takes them all out.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. So hopefully we'll be seeing some of those things physically with our own eyeballs on the 7th.
Yeah.
And then of course we'll pre-order them and then we'll get them middle or end of 2023 at this point. Who knows?
Yep.
The Bush archive wave hasn't gone up yet, right? For order. Grand Moff Tarkin, Han Solo.
Not yet.
Oh, so maybe we'll see those.
Palpatine and Dengar.
Yeah, those could go up for pre-order too, I guess. Yeah. Sure.
Well, those are up. The Dengar and Palpatine.
Oh yeah,
Those are, but not the next
It's
wave.
not the next.
If they announced, we haven't seen.
Because we haven't seen Leia in the bush disguise or Han Solo with the face printing.
Right.
So those are going to be, because it's a Force Awakens Han Solo. So those will
I'm
be.
definitely buying both of those. That's a must for me. I think I'm gonna pass unless it's. What else was in there? Yeah, I'm passing on Tarkin. I don't care about him. I already have him, and he already has 3D the upgraded face. Like
it's a great looking figure already.
So you don't really need him. At least
they always throw in like one archive figure that doesn't make sense for some reason. Like I just don't get it.
like the Skiff Guard Lando, which is still available to buy off Amazon, like for retail price.
If they pack them in the new Galaxy, like imagine Tarkin in a Bad Batch packaging with the mural, and then maybe like the way they have the Gaming Great sticker. Like if we had a archive sticker on there, I would totally rebuy that. But if it's in the archive packaging, I don't really have a need for that.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of a mistake. Not like Zach says that every time that the archive comes up, is he thinks that it should all just be in the Galaxy packaging and just release them. And I agree. It would actually tempt me to buy it more than it just being in an archive wave because I don't care about that packaging, but I do care about the mural, and I don't want a hole in my mural, which is dumb.
Yeah, because if they also did that, they could, like, for people who are completionists like you, like, so instead of, if they straight re-release Tarkin and new mural art, you could also argue that I already have this figure, but if they threw in like a small like accessory, just something plastic that's this big, like a little Death Star, like, you know, hologram looking thing, just anything that you think that
3 cups.
Yeah,
3
there
more
you
cups.
go. Perfect.
I'm on a whole cup collection. I'm up to 6 now, so let's go.
Then all the completionists would have to get it, and a lot of people would get it for that extra accessory. So
it comes down to planograms. They need to have different lines of product.
Yes,
that all fall in this. So the archive line is a separate SKU, so that gets their own peg, and it's a whole separate. It's one of those things that's like way above my understanding of merchandising and mass production.
For sure.
But from what I've heard, it comes down to that kind of stuff. So they need to have different price points and different,
right.
That's why we have the Mission Fleet collection and all of that.
Yeah, I kind of missed I like the Galaxy of Heroes 5-inch line. I actually liked it, and it kind of sucks that I guess it's gone now because they haven't done anything with it in forever. But I thought it was a fun little line.
The Disney Toy Box line is really cute too. Like
I have a couple of those as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Those have tempted me a few times. Yeah, I found the Boba Fett with the Starship, and I was like, that's actually kind of cool. But again, it is. No context for the piece, so
sure.
If I buy one, I gotta get the whole thing.
Yeah. The next 2 pieces of news, we got 2 figures announced and pre-orders went up.
Well, so first I want to say before we announce it,
go ahead.
It was cool because one of our bigger complaints with Hasbro in general, especially the Star Wars team, is they don't really do a lot of fan involvement. So they did this where they gave the announcements to different like content creators or big pillars in the. It wasn't us. I mean, it was. I'm not going to.
Yeah, the Cantina didn't get one, but we do have a fairly solid audience.
Actually, that's one of the reasons, and I guess it's a plug for our Twitter. I made a Twitter account because I figured maybe that would help. Maybe it would help. So you can follow us on Twitter. Yeah,
I need to start tweeting from that. I don't think we have an official tweet yet, so I need to.
I've made a.
Did you make a tweet?
I did.
Maybe I didn't see it. Maybe I didn't see our own tweet. I need to log in there and start tweeting more.
Yeah. So I just want to give props to Hasbro for doing something a little bit more community based. Giving the announcements to kind of the normies, I guess, instead of doing it like they usually do. And I thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah. I loved.
So we got. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I love Fly Guys. Or Fly Guys Toys. I forget what the account is called. That did the 13th clone just because they were both. They announced it and then they both go, I don't know who this guy is. They were just like, I don't remember this guy at all.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you want to?
Yep. So we got 2 Gaming Greats figures: the Fallen Order 13th Battalion Clone Trooper and the Gaming Greats. I know everybody loves this one. The Republic Commando, the Fixer. So he's the green one, and I know everybody's mad that he doesn't have that extra green up on his torso area, right? You know what I'm talking about? He has like an extra green like patch that Hasbro seems to have left off. My biggest issue with this was the price to pre-order them from GameStop after shipping, because I thought it was over $35 free shipping. Like, bam, it's super worth it. But then you had to order 2 of the same figure. So if you ordered one,
because the price isn't over $35 unless the shipping is added, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. So if you ordered, one of each, you're paying a total of $72, I think, or 74. It's anywhere 70 to 74, I think, for which is $36 a figure. And to me, and one of them being a Republic Commando, that Republic Commando specifically was like super not worth it. So I didn't pre-order these, and I'm just gonna. And then gaming greats are pretty easy to find.
Don't you have a GameStop
stores
around you?
Yes, I'm gonna go
just go and pre-order in store.
Listen, I'm going to go in store and pre-order these. I'm gonna do that. I haven't physically yet.
I did that. That's what I did.
But I'm just saying, for the people who did it online, I feel like that price is insane. Go in store and pre-order. That's what I'm gonna do. But I just thought 70 something for, especially with one of them.
You're only saving $12. Do you really care about $12?
When it's a Republic, when you're getting this, yes. When this is one of the ones you're getting, then yes. If I'm getting, our 13th Battalion Clone Trooper and maybe a new molded this, maybe like the $12, I'll say, oh, that's worth it. Me not having to chase it down. But if I'm getting the Hunter body for the 3rd time, and I know I'm going to get it a 4th and a 5th time, then yes, the $12 matters, because that $12 is going to multiply for each Hunter body you get.
Just walk your skinny legs to a GameStop.
That's the plan. I just wanted to
pop down your $5, and then they'll reserve one for you. I reserved 2 of the 13th Battalion Clone Troopers, because again, Clone Troopers, you got to have 2. And if they ever come out with a Jero T'Pol or a Padawan,
fingers crossed.
Yeah, Cal Kestis, like, I'm set, because I love Jedi Fallen Order, and as soon as I saw these, I was like, yes, Jedi Fallen Order, I'm in. But with Fixer, I just want to say we were right, because we guessed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the last episode, we guessed that this would be one of the figures that we got was a continuation of the
Delta Squad, right?
Yeah.
But I just had to get that out there. I had to stand up for the online specific shoppers only. So, Luke, what did you think of these 2 pre-orders?
I ordered 2 of each to avoid having to pay shipping.
You can easily sell the other ones, or
you can also return them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, you can just return 2 of them and not have to worry about selling and shipping it all.
Absolutely.
I didn't recognize the 13th Battalion Trooper, but I put it together pretty quickly, and I really love that scene. I've sent that scene to a few friends that haven't played the game, but trying to convince them, like, at least watch like a playthrough of all the cutscenes, because it's a pretty relevant, pretty cool Star Wars story on its own.
Oh, the Order 66 section was intense. Love
to play that. It was pretty wild. And getting to see it from that perspective as a new take, literally as a child. That was pretty cool. I'm excited to get this, but I hope we get a Jaro T'Pol or something, because there's no figures of any characters that are in that scene with them, so they're just kind of on their own.
Yeah. Good points.
But I still ordered 2 of each, because I learned my lesson on the Umbra Trooper.
Yeah.
I was like, who did I think I was?
Do you know who I am? I'm Landspeeder Luke.
When the the new carbonized figures came out, I ordered all 3 of them with that, when Target had the 20% off or whatever. And then I was like, I guess these are technically the Galaxy line, so I don't want to miss out. But I was like, this, and then I realized, I was like, wait a second, I don't have any of the holiday figures, so I'm not a completionist, which means I don't have to buy these. So it was a little bit of a relief, but I did end up getting Paz Vizsla when I saw him in store.
Yeah, He's the best of the three, I think.
Yeah,
he's the one that could just be in my collection. I think he looks better than the actual one. Yeah, for sure.
And that packaging is like my favorite of any Black Series packaging I've seen. It just works so well.
For sure. So Fixer, I think Fixer looks fine. I get he's missing the paint on his little tummy area.
To me, it's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. I don't care at all. But I know there are people that's not true for. There are people that absolutely care. And you know what? If you care, cool. But, and hear me out here. If there are other people that don't care, you don't have to constantly point it out how mad you are about it. Just, express your feelings and then just move on. Like, it's just a toy. That's all. It's just it. It's just a toy. That's it. That's all I had.
Yeah, some people can be too mad about it.
Too mad. It's like they act like Hasbro went to their house and punched their dog or something.
I think it's just the disappointment of when you are really excited for something and it just doesn't meet that expectation. Because I personally, they do look. It's one of those things that I don't realize. Like people were complaining about Fordo and that figure, and I didn't really think much of it until you start seeing some customs where they really get the proportions right. And I would be like, oh, wow, that figure actually looks really good. I got to get one of those. And I'm like, oh, it's a custom. Okay. Because I don't have the eye for clone armor that some people do, or just for that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, if a figure that I was really looking forward to, I was really looking forward to the Fennec Shan figure. And I got lucky that came out looking incredible. But if that had come out and been really disappointing, I would have been bummed about it. But I don't know how much
one thing about being bummed about it.
But
yeah, it's okay to be bummed about something. You could be disappointed. You could even be sad. You could be a little mad. But
to be raging online about it.
Yeah, just dial it in.
I need to ruin it for other people if it's not
exactly.
Also, I do want to point out that on the 13th Battalion Clone Trooper, they do have the black line on the brow, which is really nice. Yeah, because I know since they have it in the game, they're gonna they have it in the game, they're gonna have it. I feel like they should still put it on the ones from the Clone Wars that don't have the black line, because if their whole thing is this is how we're making these figures to how they would look in live action, then I feel like they should put the black line because it looks better with the black line anyways. So now it's just kind of weird. We have some clones without it and some clones with it.
Yeah,
but it's really not a big deal.
More clones with it than without it. I was looking at my clone shelf the other day.
Yeah, we do.
Most of the clones have the black band, so I kind of agree. As on a shelf, even though yes, they're from different lines, they're from the movie or they're from the show, but on the shelf, they're just on my shelf. I don't. Yeah. I do kind of want that homogeny of having the black line all on all of them or not on all of them, rather than kind of mixed and matched. So. That does bug me still, and even though I get why, it still kind of sucks.
Yeah, right. But that's all I had to say about that. So if you wanna,
we just need the two others. Is it Torch and
Sev?
Sev, that was it.
Was it Scorch?
Scorch, that was it. Scorch.
Torch.
Torch. I don't know. Some kind of Orch. He's the Orch guy.
Yeah, and I think it was pointed out that Sev, you might be able to see Sev's arm on one of the boxes.
Yeah.
So no surprise there.
So we'll probably see that on April 7th.
We might see him. Yeah, absolutely. I think Sev's probably going to be the next one, and then Scorch will round it out, and then we'll have it, and we can move on with our lives.
Yep, for sure.
That's it for the news. We got no more news. It was kind of a slow 2 weeks, really.
Yeah, you know how mad people are going to be when they do the whole Delta Squad with this Hunter mold, and then they announce a Gregor with an actual new mold, and then they're like, "Well, we're not doing the Delta Squad anymore since we already have them." People would be so mad. I'm kind of here for it, honestly.
You don't know that. They've redone figures before, but you're probably right.
I know, but if they were we have the Delta Squad, we're not gonna do this now. We're just gonna make other commandos. It would kind of be hilarious. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. No, we're gonna get a Gregor, and he's gonna be on the same body. And yeah. Or we'll get a Rebels Gregor, and he'll just he'll have the tank top on, and
smoking a cig, maybe.
We'll have that sad scene where he dies, and we'll just cry a little bit.
Spoilers.
If you haven't seen Rebels by now, that's on you.
Yeah,
because it ended in like 2017. That was 5 years ago.
Such a good show.
I didn't really get into watching. I'm a new Star Wars fan. I was a fan from Phantom Menace to I saw Attack of the Clones at midnight, but I did not see most of the recent films in theaters.
Okay.
And so it wasn't until Mandalorian that I started really getting into it. And I picked up C-3PO and R2-D2 in that 4-pack when I was at Disney with some friends. And I was like, oh, these would be cute to have in my place. Like just have C-3PO and R2-D2 up on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you got hooked.
Yeah. And then I grabbed the Stormtrooper Deluxe that with the blast effects. And then, I was like, well.
And then you were like, I can make my own better ones.
That was my next question is how did you start collecting and what were your first figures? So it was that Galaxy's Edge 4-pack, the Droid Depot, huh?
Yeah. And I just threw BB-8 and DJ Rex in a bin somewhere, like just in my closet.
Yeah.
And I think I gave the BB-8 to a friend of mine. So that it was one of those things where I had like around 10 to 12 just on a single shelf. And it was like, okay, I'm not going to let this get bigger than this one little shelf. And it was all like OT stuff. And then I'm trying to remember what was happening is I ended up with about 20 or 30. And then I started selling. I sold like half of them. And then I ended up needing a lot of those figures for dioramas eventually. So then I just started keeping everything. And then so now I have pretty much every Black Series figure that's had a unique mold, so I don't have all the clones. I don't have some of those, some of the Stormtroopers or some of the random repaints and like those 4-packs and whatnot. But I've got pretty much every original character and sculpt now, just so I never have to wait a couple weeks for something to ship from eBay if I've got a diorama coming out. And I've just found that having the figures in the first photo, the post does way better. And when you can like sort your feed by most engagement or most clicks from the Explore page and that sort of thing. And so now I've just got a huge huge bin under my bed of everything. And then but they're all tax write-offs since they all kind of go into this Patreon stuff. So that was some nice news to find out from my tax guy. But
I love it. That's why I pretty much feature everything I can on my YouTube channel, just for that reason, is to be a tax write-off. Yeah. Yep.
Imagine someone at the IRS just sitting going through your reviews, being like, "Okay, he used that one in a comparison."
He used it, yeah.
At the end, and so I actually bought a few like 3D printed pieces from some from like John Walker Customs and that sort of thing. And again, it was one of those things where I just thought like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Like it wasn't like, oh, I can never learn it. Just like, oh, this isn't something I do is 3D printing. Like I don't, that's for computer people. And then come lockdown, just it was recommended, and it was one of those things where I was like, I guess this will be something to play around with for a little bit. And if I don't like it, I'll return it. It's $200, whatever. So I got the Ender 3 Pro, which I think was like $230 at the time. It's still around the same. And got it set up the first day, and then started seeing what I could sculpt, and had a lot of failures. The first thing I tried to do was I just had all of my figures loose in a bin, and all the lightsabers were getting all messed up. So I was like, let me make like a hard case for just the lightsabers, and I'll put a little Imperial logo on the front. And so I did that. And like, I don't know what I did wrong still, but like the lid did not fit the bottom at all. Like it was two totally different sizes. And I was like, what the hell did I do? Or like, I still don't know what went wrong. So I started making dioramas for myself, and then I did this Millennium Falcon interior, which is one of the first posts on my page. And I posted that on Reddit, I think, in like the Black Series subreddit. And so this is about a year into collecting. And this is also when I kind of started watching Clone Wars. Like when Clone Wars season 7 was airing, I had no idea that show was still on or that like it was good. And so I was really late to the party with all of that. And so I, or was I? Yeah. So I start designing some things to flesh out the collection. And then, this Millennium Falcon post, I posted. And so this is like June 2020. I hadn't made any money since lockdown, hadn't really left my house. And so getting this kind of, it did super well online, and I got a bunch of people offering to buy it. And I was like, it was 2 weeks of work and like lots of just printing everything on that small printer, and then also dealing with all the failures and all the headaches that come when you're first printing. I was like, this isn't really something that I can do. Like, even if I get $500 for this, it's like 80 hours of work, or, and also I lived in a studio apartment at the time. The printer is loud and it was just out on a table. And so printing overnight was not really an option unless I wanted to.
You don't get good sleep, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. It's this really high pitch, like.
So on a scale from like 1 to an old dot matrix printer, like what was
it's close. Like? It's pretty bad, but I just upgraded to the Ender 3 V2, which has the silent mainboard, and then I upgraded my 2 larger printers that I have now, and it's like a $70 motherboard that you basically you take the printer apart, you unplug everything, install this, plug everything back in. Takes maybe 30 minutes, pretty easy. And they're like completely silent. All you hear is the fans. It really blew my mind. And if anyone has a printer that they can hear while it's on, because even like I have it in a closet now, and like I could still hear it if I was watching TV if they were running, and especially when all 3 of them were going. It was really like a life changer, like to replace those I was like, oh my gosh, this was $70, and I could have done this. I wish I'd done this 2 years ago. But anyway, so that I tried to take commissions for a bit. Like I had a little website and I had like 5 or 6 things listed. Got about 8 orders maybe. And I was like, when the orders come in, you're like, oh my God, $800 to like make these things, like that's incredible. And then it's like 2 months later, I'm still like trying to get these orders done. Just like painting, being like, oh my God, this is so much more work to paint. Also, when you're making something for yourself, I'll be like, okay, I'm just going to photograph this for Patreon. It's okay if the paint's not perfect. When you're making something for someone else who's paid good money for it, the pressure is just so much higher, and it takes so much of the fun out of it. Absolutely. And so eventually I got to a point where I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can make this all digital. And I had enough of an audience from Instagram now. I had a few thousand followers from doing, at Landspeeder Luke, and which I came up with that name in like 2 seconds. Like I was like, I'll just come up with something. I'll change it later. But it's stuck, and I really like it. Yeah, it's good. But so I started the Patreon, and it's really slow at first, but now it's a pretty good community, and it's enough to it's nice to sit down and design something and know you're kind of getting paid for it. And it's also just been so much fun to make stuff that just makes people happy. It makes no sense. There's no logical reason why seeing an AT leg should make you happy. Or there's no real need for it, which makes it so much more fun, because it's just like what we want for whatever reason. And it's like, why does seeing the Millennium Falcon table and chairs make me happy? But it does, and it's fun to see that from other people, and kind of uncover all these childhood memories of making dioramas with my dad at a foam core when I was 10. And so it's been really fun.
What would you say is like your favorite print job you've worked on?
The Endor bunker was like the first one where I was like, holy crap, this is cool. Like, also just holding it in hand, it's like 20 inches wide and it's so heavy, and like the doors move. And that was the first time where you feel like it was something that you bought at a store, but you're like, I made this. Like, this came out of my brain and now I'm holding it. Like, like I was saying, it's a really fun feeling. And that also took a lot of trial and error to figure out how to print that, how to get the doors to slide, because you have to have a gap for the doors, and having a gap in a 3D print is not really possible without having to like have supports in between. And then you're trying to pick out like supports that are wedged in between these two pieces that are like, it's almost near impossible. And so I did a lot of versions of that, lots of like months and months of prototyping. And yeah, that's the one in my profile picture here. But That one in the Death Star computers, like the black and red computers that were in A New Hope. That's just such a fun scene, just such an iconic look. And then while I was working on it, like between when I designed it to when I posted it, they showed up in the Bad Batch episode, the War Mantle episode, and I was stoked. I was like, they're there, perfect. And so I like, photographed it with the Bad Batch figures instead, or in it as well.
It's fun how that works out.
One, like when I meet someone at a party and I'm trying to explain what I do, that's the one that I pull up. Because also I have the little video of me holding it in hand and like twirling it. Because most of my stuff, I do that black background like Hasbro does, and
yeah, I was going to ask you how you do that, because I kind of want to do it too.
Yeah, so
don't reveal your secrets.
I basically just recreated it in Photoshop, and so I just have a template, and so I just drop it on top, and then I'll photograph it just on a piece of paper or on a table or something, and then Photoshop has like the remove background tool now, which works a lot of the time. It does really well with figures because their AI can recognize like a human form, right? So it does really good with that. And then I just flip it, add the reflection in post, and scale it and all that. And one of the best tricks I found for photographing figures or dioramas is I do long exposure photos, and I use like a little LED light. I use a LumiCube with like a little the snoot on it, that kind of the spotlight effect, and I just kind of paint with the light for like a 5-second exposure, and it allows me to really kind of like it makes it look like you've got like 20 lights going when it's really just one light and a long exposure. And so for toy photography and like customs and all that, it really helps.
I have a suggestion.
Doing that. That's a good idea.
I have a suggestion. You should create your own podcast to talk about 3D printing and custom like Star Wars Black Series figures. I've
talked about that with a few other customizers in the community about starting something. And I have also been thinking of ways to expand the Patreon beyond just people with 3D printers or people who are interested in doing that, because it's a very niche audience.
Yeah.
And I'm actually shocked to have the amount of patrons that I do, but I would like to have like a $3 tier and have some, have guests on and have that sort of thing. And and I think if it's profitable enough, being able to pay people out of the Patreon would be a nice way to just kind of approach certain people that like Yak Face that might not be there, that are quite busy or not really doing as many podcasts these days, that might be down. If you could compensate them for their time, and that might be, it might take a couple years before before it's making enough to be able to do that. So, but yeah, I have talked about it with some people.
Yep. And so before we end here,
I have more questions. What the heck?
These are questions. You can still ask questions.
All right. We're not winding down.
I just wanted to throw these in there real quick. I didn't know, So we did get some Patreon questions for you.
Oh, yeah. That's important.
I just wanted to throw these in here real quick. So this comes from Aaron Darrow. What are some big projects you would like to work on but can't due to only using a 3D printer? Love your work, man.
That's a good one.
I'm trying to think of...
Like, what's a dream project for you, maybe?
Yeah, I've been wanting... I don't think any of these are impossible to do with 3D printing. It's just like...
6-inch scale Death Star on the table? Yes.
Yeah, I've actually thought about doing like a wall display. Like, imagine like a 4-foot tall circle that is broken down into a bunch of little shelves that are each different scenes of the Death Star, and then having having the prison hallway that actually like has a door that drops down into a trash compactor, and that sort of thing. The only thing is just to print like a box, like let's say a 12 inches by 8 inches tall by 6 inches deep box takes about 15 hours, and that's with no details in there at all. And you need to have a bigger printer for that. So it would be something that like I could make for myself, but I try to make everything that's on my Patreon accessible to people that have just the 8-inch printer, which is just the more common size. And so there's a lot of things like that are a little bit more limited, just in terms of scale. I do really want to combine my like Falcon exterior wedge with the interior set and have it actually be like a double-sided play set. So it's got the details on the outside and you turn it around, it's got the inside. I do want to focus more, do some more sets that are more geared towards toy photographers, because most of my stuff is more for shelf display. So it's very shallow, in depth. And I don't like having square edges. Like I don't like the diorama being in a box. I like it kind of existing on your shelf the way that the figures do, where there's no hard edges. Because it's like when you set that figure on your shelf, that character is it's like alive in that space in a way, and I think having a diorama be closed in like a shoebox type way, I don't know, there's something about that I've never liked. And Lego does it. Like if you look at Lego sets, it's never like the inside of a room. It's always kind of open-ended, and they really have nice silhouettes. And so I've been really inspired by a lot of Lego sets in my dioramas that I do, just in terms of like world building, having like a building and then a couple little pieces on the side that really flesh it out. But I do want to do some stuff for toy photographers that's at least like a corner and a floor and a ceiling, maybe something that I can even print all in one go. So you just set it and come back in a day. And then something that you can actually fit, like the corner of a room where you could have as a background in your shot and have it fleshed out instead of having to stack a few dioramas together. So I guess none of those are really limited by 3D printing. But I do have that sense every time I make something where I'm like, how do I make 100 of these? Like, and it's not about the money of it. It's just like, when you're excited for something, you want to show people, and I want people to have this stuff in hand. And so doing the Patreon has been really cool, because like I'll post something up and then the next day someone in Singapore's got it on their shelf, and that's pretty crazy to see and really exciting. And also just seeing the creativity that people do with the pieces that I make. So they'll take something and use it in a way that I totally didn't expect, or they'll shrink it down or blow it up, or combine things, or turn floor pieces into walls, or there's someone a while ago that did they did a really fleshed out Millennium Falcon interior, and they took all of these little detail pieces from like the Endor bunker and from all the like some crates, and they put them on the walls, and really like blew my mind to see that. I was like, I didn't even think of that. Damn, I could have used the same pieces. But yeah, it's been really, really fun to see.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen you make something that I haven't thought like, I want to buy that. Like I think you just redid the Cantina seats in table, and I was like, I've got glasses for that table.
Yeah, exactly. I get a lot of recommendations from people who are like, oh, you should make this, and I'm like, like the Jedi Council room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we have like 2 figures that can go in there, and neither of them fits it.
It's really hard to fill that out.
What are you gonna do with it? Yeah. And so I also try to time things out with the figures that are coming out. So like when the Ceremony Leia came out, I was like, okay, where's this gonna go? Like, let's make a little Yavin set, little Yavin ceremony. But also I know that's not the coolest scene in Star Wars, so I made it very small. Like it's just big enough to put your 3 figures on it. But like no one's gonna be printing out like a whole Yavin shelf.
Right.
Well, a few people, but yeah, I always try to think what's going to be, exciting to people in that moment. And so, or even like, it's like, I've got some Book of Boba Fett designs, but it's like, until we have certain figures, there's not really much point to making it. So
sure.
Another question real quick from Count Cardboard. He says, I was really excited when first downloading some of this stuff, just to get my excitement a bit damped after seeing the prices for online 3D printing, especially for the larger prints, and for some of the file size was too large. I guess he's asking, is it worth it to get your own 3D printer in the long run?
Yeah. I mean,
printers vary in price and quality, of course, but still is what he said.
When I was making the Endor bunker, I was like, hey, if I can get, like, I called local 3D printing places to be like, hey, so like I'm painting these, I'm selling them, but like I've only got one printer and it's tough to keep up with. Because I'm thinking, if I'm selling these for $150 and they're printing them for 50, like I'll do that and just have them working on them on the side while I'm working on them. And they were like, they wouldn't even tell me the price. They're like, if you've got a 3D printer at home, there is no reason for you to call us. They're like, because their prices are for like one-off prototypes, where a lot of times they're doing a lot of the modeling themselves. And it's not really, 3D printing services are not really meant for the kind of stuff that I use them for, that we would use them for. Right. But with that being said, yeah, it's like, you can get a printer for pretty cheap. And I wrote a script for a video that I was going to make about like just 60-second, like, hey, so you want to start 3D printing for your collection? Here's what you need to know. Just to really show each step and be like, this is what it is from ordering the printer until getting your first print in hand painted. This is everything you need to know and everything you need to buy and what it looks like. Because I think just having that clear picture in your head makes everything so much more accessible to people. Where, and I try to even do that with my dioramas, where you can see the finished product and you go, okay, that looks cool, but how am I going to print that? And so I'll try to have a slide or two in there of seeing the prints either just as they come off the bed or in the slicer software, so that people who do own the printers go, oh, that's actually really easy. Like I can make that. I know how to do that. Just to encourage people to give it a try. Ordering 3D prints from people is just, it's tricky. It gets expensive, and it's like the people that sell my stuff. They do a really great job, especially if they're painting it and it's just something that you want one or two things here or there. If you're buying everything I make, or you're like ordering one of each, getting your own printer would be worth it. But again, it's like, it's a big learning curve. It gets frustrating. Like the first year, I would say at least the first 8 months that I was 3D printing and I had all 3 printers, I was spending at least an hour a day on maintenance with them. Now I spend like an hour every 2 months on them, because I know how to prevent a lot of issues before they happen. But I've never sworn at something like I swore at those printers. And because they feel alive when they're all moving around and they're doing the wrong thing. And you're like, what are you doing? It feels like you're like yelling at like a pet that has really disappointed you, where you're like, you know better. Come on, what are you doing? But if you're handy or you like working with your hands, then I definitely recommend getting one, especially the starter ones. They're a couple $100. Sell a couple figures.
So what's the entry level printer that anyone listening that wants to get into it should be looking
the
for?
Ender 3 Pro is what I started with. It's around $230. But now that I have the V2, which is $280 with the silent board, unless you've got like a garage or an attic or something where this printer is going to be, the V2 is like, I was stunned when I turned it on. I was like, wait, this is an option to have a quiet printer? I couldn't believe it. And so if the extra $50, if it's going to be in your bedroom or like in the room next to where you watch TV or something, definitely I would say get the V2. And then the filament's about $20 a roll, and that
was my next question.
I'd say this Endor bunker that you're looking at, probably about $20 to $30 worth of material. Okay. And that's a big one. So like, the Cantina says some of my sellers are going to be upset with me for saying how cheap they are to make, but probably about $5 worth of material plus. But then it's the initial cost where it's like you got to get the paint, you got to get the paintbrush. Like my airbrush that I used was like a $500 kit, and so unless you're really going in, it's better to just spend the $60-$70 to buy it from a someone selling it. But if you want to make it a real habit, or you really want to flesh out your entire shelf with this stuff, then I think you gotta go in.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much work actually goes into this, because like a lot of the big complaints with like the Rancor and stuff like that were like, oh, it's too expensive or whatever. But I think when it really comes down to how much it costs to do all this stuff, prototyping, like how many times have you made something but the one you showing people is like the 5th or 6th version of that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
If there's any pieces that click together, like the one I just posted on my story today of the Millennium Falcon, that's my 3rd time revisiting that design.
Right.
And this is my first time having interlocking pieces just to simplify the printing process. That's like hours of work. I'd say it takes at least 10 hours for me to make a piece. And that's not including printing time, right? Because that's passive, but still, it's like my printers are tied up while that's happening. So a lot of like the sellers that I work with, it's like that time that and it's like you gotta the roll of filament. You can't just like print with that forever. So you gotta be timing out your prints right and strategizing where you're like, okay, I'm going to do, if this roll is 1 kilogram, I'm going to do a 0.75 print and then a 0.20, and then I'll have to switch it, and then I'll do the 0.50. So it doesn't run out overnight while you're sleeping and you come back in the morning and the whole thing's failed. And that's the other thing is like failed prints. Like that was my frustration is I was like, okay, this thing takes 12 hours to print. I could print, 14 of them in a week. And then your first 5 days, you don't have a single successful print because like I didn't have my stuff dialed in right back then.
Right.
And so you're like, yeah, like I sold those Black Series box stands that I made that kind of display the box.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll sell these for like $30 a pop. And then it ended up taking me like, and then, yeah, initially I sold a bunch of them and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. All this, this money's pouring in. And then it took me like a month to actually print all of them. And while that was happening, I couldn't print anything new. I couldn't make new stuff. Like I was just sitting there printing these things off. Every time I was going to watch TV, I heard in the background, like, and they were just failing over and over again. I'm just wasting material and throwing stuff out. Then there'd be like the printer would break down. It'd take me 2 days to figure out what was wrong with it. And then also the thing is a lot of the parts for the printer, they come from overseas. So especially during the pandemic, something would break down. I'd order the part and it would take a month to get there. And so that printer's just sitting there for a month. And so it's one of those things. It sounds like, okay, yeah, just hit print and go to bed. But that's a best case scenario. That's often not the case.
Right. So I have a question.
Yep.
And Mike's going to be mad at me for asking this. I'm going back to it. So hypothetically, if you were to 3D print a raincore, because there was a lot of people saying you can get a 3D printed version for $200. Right. Hypothetically, if you were to 3D print a raincore with a ton of articulation and paint it and send it to somebody, how much would you charge them?
If I had the file, like if Hasbro sent me that file with all of that articulation where each finger is 3 different pieces, and because there's some files out there that are pretty simple that are not going to come close to like a Black Series Rancor. Right. But I wouldn't, even if I had the files, I wouldn't do it for less than $500 or $600. The amount of print time, the amount of
paint time,
and also pieces like that are very organically shaped take a lot. You need to have supports. You need to have all these pieces that take a lot of time to break away. And that's, if I had to sand the whole thing, I'd add on another few $100s to that, because that's going to be a pain in the butt to try to get those layer lines out of there and make it look like people are going to expect. There's really, there's really no comparison. There's some people that offer them printed for around $300-$400, but those are unpainted, and you're going to have to, you're going to be spending like 10-15 hours on that thing to get it looking even close. And it's also like you're going to have years and years of paint experience and to get it looking like the Black Series Rancor.
Yeah, I just wanted a 3D printing master to say that on the pod, because
just to end the feud.
Because there was just so much, like many comments, like back when that was a thing, and everybody was like, "I guarantee I'll be able to buy this for $250 from a 3D printer." It's like, do you realize how stupid that sounds?
It's
the cheapest I've seen it is like $300 to $400, and that's for just like a plain 5.2.
It's basically a 5 POA,
it's a 5 POA 6-inch Rancor.
And like 3D printed joints are. It's not like the plastic that like those don't really work in theory. Like I've got a 3D printed figure that was printed with the type of printer that you would use for something like the Rancor. Because also the thing is resin printing, which is what you use for custom heads and custom figures, really detailed small stuff. That resin is expensive. Like a 3D printed Rancor would be probably like, I'm not a super expert on resin printing. I gave mine away, but probably at least $100 just worth of material just to like get it started. And those print
we
beds
talked
are
about
way
that.
smaller.
You steered me away from resin printing, because that's kind of what I was going for. Because everyone I'd seen, all the videos were all resin printed.
It's a higher learning curve. It's messy. It smells. It's like dangerous. You got to wear gloves and goggles and be really careful not to get it. And like if you spill that, which I have, it's a pain. Like I gave mine away to a friend, and he's had it for 3 days set up, and he's been trying for 3 days to get the first print to work. So if you want to do, if you're not interested in dioramas or big stuff and you just want to do figures, then or like if you're really into clone customs and armor, like Skylu 3D has a really awesome Patreon. Like his files are really unmatched, and it's all geared for resin printers. And it is. I was resin printing within my first day, but then I also had issues that took me a while to solve with it, and it wasn't something that was sustainable for me. So I ended up giving it to another customizer. But he has yet to have any success with it. So yeah, it's just a higher learning curve. But yeah, if you want to do figures instead of world building, then resin's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Cool. So let's say this hypothetically, in a world where the Rancor funded, what would you be designing?
Oh, I had a whole plan.
Oh, I need to hear this. This is good. This is a good.
Yeah,
question.
no, I had a lot planned, and I'm in the theorizing stage of making a 12th scale Rancor that is very accessible and very, I guess I'll say it, and if someone wants to steal it, then great, because I just kind of want it. I don't want to make it. But like just the Rancor gate, like the door, that's about like 3 inches deep and just has his hand reaching around grabbing the bars and his face sticking into it. And that would go like up against the back of your shelf as if the Rancor is kind of behind the wall, sticking his head through. That felt like a reasonable way to do a 12 scale Rancor. I was going to do, the door that's inside the thing, kind of surrounded by rocks that kind of blend into your wall, like just kind of fade out from the wall. And then I was going to do the giant gate that crushes the Rancor as like a repeatable piece. So if you've got your Rancor on a shelf that's like 30 inches wide, you could print 30 inches worth of this stuff and glue it to an inch deep or an inch. I'm using my hands a lot and I realize no one can see me, but like about 2 inches of just the very top of the gate. So it looks like the gate is kind of rolled up in your shelf. And so that was one of the other ideas I had. And then I've got my whole Jabba's Palace set, which could have been cool on the shelf above the Rancor. But those are kind of my Rancor plans. But there's not much else in that scene other than rocks.
No. What about a riding harness for a Boba Fett?
Oh yeah, that probably would have been on my list.
That's awesome.
Definitely, Awesome. But that's one of those things you really need to get the Rancor in hand.
You have to design it around the actual size.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what could have been, man? What could have been?
Yeah, and just whenever he said, $800 or whatever, plus like sanding, like a couple of $600.
Yeah.
That doesn't include like the skulls and the Malakili and the Gamorrean Guard. And the cardboard and all that. Yeah, so.
People poo-poo the cardboard, but I seriously don't think people realize how big that cardboard was going to be. Like, it was a lot of cardboard.
It's one of those things where if it had just, like, let's say it was just a product that they released and they were like, here's a Rancor, it's $350, it comes with all this stuff.
Yep.
No one would have complained about the cardboard, but it's when you make it, it's like they had to make it an announcement, and then people's expectations are obviously going to be way off the charts.
They were way too high.
Of like what's possible or what's doable. And then so when people are expecting a Black Series Ula figure and they're like, and here's a cardboard standee, it's just one of those things where it's like doing the HasLab the way they do. There's no way around having to make some sort of announcement about the tiers. But it's ultimately going to be underwhelming no matter what.
Yeah, and Mike went over that on our show. He went over like previous HasLabs and what the tiers were, and we're telling people don't get your expectations way too high.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, okay. So what about all your jobs you've done, all your designs you've come up with? What has been the most frustrating? Like, what have you done where it just didn't work, so you just kind of quit?
Early on, there's a lot of trial and error in order to understand what is and isn't possible with 3D printing. And also I never want my designs to be difficult for the user. So I try to make everything print without supports. And I think that's what sets me apart to a lot of people, because I'll find different people's stuff and I'm like, oh my God, these designs are awesome. There's no way, this just doesn't work as a print. This is a beautiful Blender file, or this is a beautiful render, but this is not gonna be a print that's gonna or it'll use an incredibly wasteful amount of material and supports that you're just going to break off and throw away and then have to sand. And
what do you mean by supports when you say that?
So, okay, let's say you're trying to a 3D printer works by squeezing out material in a nozzle one layer at a time. So imagine you were trying to make like a drinking glass out of toothpaste. You would draw a circle, you'd fill in that circle, and that would be the bottom of the glass, and then you draw a ring around the thing and just keep going up as you go. Okay, so that's how a printer would print a glass. So let's say that glass now has a lid on top of it as well. What's going to happen is you're going to get to the top of the glass and you're going to start squeezing out that toothpaste onto an empty circle. It's just going to collapse. So let's say you're trying to print a figure. It's going to print the feet. It's going to print the shins. It's going to print the legs. It's going to print the crotch. It's going to get all the way up to the fingertips. The fingertips are going to be printing at the same time as the waist because they're going to be in line with like the thighs.
That makes
it's just
sense.
going to start squeezing those fingertips onto thin air, and they're just going to fall. So it would print basically like a pole all the way up from the ground up into the fingertips. And so when it starts printing those fingertips, it's going to be on top of that pole. And then when you're done, you've got a figure standing there with two poles sticking out of his hands down to the floor. And then you snap those off. And now you've got the hands.
Okay.
But it's
sense.
Never a perfect cut. It's always going to leave a little bit of material. It gives a really messy finish. It's just not really something that, and I've just like, technically you can sand that away. I have not found any method of sanding that stuff away that is not wildly infuriating. I'm not saying you have to do outside. So I'm like, okay, let's print the glass and then let's print the lid on the side. And then you just print it and you stick that lid on top of the glass. And so I try to break everything down to have a minimal amount of prints possible. But then also, I also want to have as few pieces as possible. So like that Millennium Falcon that thing that I posted on my story today, which is probably going to be gone by the time people listen to this, but it's basically the archway, the Falcon with all those padded cushions on it. My first draft of the file that I posted a year and a half ago, you print the ring separately and then you print each of those cushions. So it was like a 20-piece file. And the thing is, every time your printer finishes a file, it starts cooling off unless you're right there to start it. So every time you want to print one of those little cushions, you got to heat your printer back up, which takes a few minutes. Then you got to print it, and then you got to pop that off. So if you're trying to print it overnight, you're going to have to be there every 20 minutes to like start a new print. So I designed all of those cushions as one piece that are connected around a ring that also has all the details of the wires inside. So they're also really easy to paint. You don't have to worry about painting inside the lines. You can be really messy, and then the outer piece is going to kind of cover up those lines. And so like my Mandalore throne, it's a blue frame with orange cushions that could easily print all in one piece, but then you're going to be taking your paintbrush trying to really cleanly paint those orange bits. So it's like you could print the orange separately, you could print the blue separately, and then paint them separately, or just print them in blue and orange and just glue them together. And it's going to be a much easier process. And so figuring out certain designs, like that Falcon archway took me 2 years to kind of have that epiphany of like, oh my God, would this work? And sitting down to try to sculpt it and then print it and be like, is it going to work? And then that moment when I like clicked it together and it worked, you're just like, oh heck yeah, like this is great. I'm looking through my page to see that figuring out the doors, the sliding doors in the Endor bunker took a while. And I made probably like 10 of those for people before I was like, wait a second, this could be a lot easier if I changed it. Like, do I really need details on the side of it? Because if I don't, then suddenly I can print this on the side and I don't have to spend 10 minutes on each piece trying to get these door supports out.
Right.
So little things like that. And sometimes it hits you a year later and you're like, oh, that would have come in handy. But I've got a good feel for it, and I can kind of look at an object and break it down in my head as a 3D printable object. And I a lot of times I won't even attempt something if I'm just like, oh, that's cool, but there's no way to like make that and not have it be 30 pieces or not involve supports. Funny enough, the client diorama that I made, just like the desk and the chair for the client figure, that chair that has the gap in it where his cloak fits.
Right. So you sit down. Yeah.
It sits right down into it and it kind of covers it. I did that on the first try. Like I just guessed how big it should be and how big everything should fit. And I was like, I'll print it and then I'll adjust. I got that on the first try, but it took me 4 tries to get the desk to be the right height. And that should have been super easy because all I had to do was sit the figure down, stick his arm out, and measure down to the table. But it was like, oh, I needed to just take off like 3 millimeters on this thing. Oh no, still too much, and then just kept cutting it down. And I was like, how did I get that chair on the first try? And yet this desk took me 4 prints to do. So
3D printing is a complicated profession, wouldn't you agree?
It is.
Yeah, you make incredible stuff. Absolutely love looking through.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I know you probably get that a lot, but I'm gonna say it a bunch because it's just true.
Thank you. It's been fun. And I'm making the stuff that I want. Yeah. So like I have that excitement, and like I always do this. Like I'll start a print that's gonna take 12 hours, and I just pace around for the first like 30 minutes. Like it's like 9 p.m. and it's gonna be finished by the time I'm gonna wake up before this thing is finished, and I'll just be like pacing around. I'll keep opening the closet and checking out every 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I need to go do something else because I can't just pace around for 12 hours until this thing is done. But I get really excited about it. It's like when you
I would have the same problem
tracking on your pre-orders, and you're like, just excited for this thing to arrive. So yeah, it's after 2 years, I still got to work on the patience.
I can do the same thing. If like I post a video, I'll keep checking the views. I keep checking the comments. Like, you know, I want to know, like, what do people think about this? You know, it's really hard.
Yeah,
to kind
chasing that
forget about
rush.
it. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think one of my favorite things you've done that's not like something super big and crazy is just the Darth Vader operating table that he lays on. Like that thing is super cool because I had the Revenge of the Sith, like original 3.75-inch figure, you know, back in the day when it came out, where he came on the operating table and all that. So that's just like super nostalgic for me. That's
cool. I actually, if I'm doing a piece like that exists as a toy, you know, in the 3.75-inch line, I will buy the toy and model it based on that, because I know that most collectors, that's going to look more correct than the actual film accurate piece. And so I'll base it off the toy being like, this is how most people are going to remember this piece.
That's a good point.
Versus like a couple freeze frames in a scene. And same with like customs. Like I'm pretty, some people are extremely accurate with their customs, and they will like, you know, I'd rather just like use an existing figure that's a little bit less accurate but looks correct, unless you literally look side by side. Like my Zam Wessel figure, it's like completely film inaccurate, but you look at that and you know who the character is right away. And when I look at that on my shelf, I'm like, that is that character. Like it for me just came alive. And unless you're really comparing, but it's like I could have sculpted with clay something that was a little bit more accurate technically. It's just not going to look like a real figure, and it's not going to look as good. And so I'm always all about the headcanon versus the real.
Sure. So. Absolutely. Cool. So. Well, I think that's about.
Yeah, I think that's going to bring us.
Yeah, we're usually getting to about the end of how long we do, but I want to keep going. This is hard because I still have a bunch of questions, but at the same time, like, what if we just had Landspeeder Luke on at some other point in the future?
Exactly. Yeah.
And if I ask him like this,
last time
he looks like a jerk if he says no. So
I'll have you guys on my podcast.
Or that.
Yeah,
even better. Absolutely. So. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on. This has been an absolute pleasure. Nothing against any of our other guests, but listening to you talk about this with your passion and just like hearing your processes and stuff has been for me like the most fascinating. Like I feel like I've just been a listener of the podcast listening to you talk because I'm so interested. I'm like, oh yeah, he's done answering the question. I have to ask another question. Like,
I love talking about it because it's so new to me. And so it's like, I get to be creative in my real job, but it's like I've been doing it for 10 years professionally now, and it's like when people want to talk about it, I'm bored. I'm like, I do not want to meet I don't want to meet anyone coming up in my profession that's like wants to pick my brain. But it's like when it comes to 3D printing, even last night I was out and I was talking to someone about it, and I was telling him like, oh yeah, I actually started this weird quarantine hobby, and I explained it to him, and he was like, you just lit up when you started talking about that stuff. He was just like, you're so passionate about this. So it's still, I'm still in the fun zone of this particular hobby. But
I think it's anytime someone asks me, they'll ask me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, Black Series question, always 100%. Did they get back a paragraph? Because like, again, it's the same kind of thing. Like that's my interest. That's my passion. I've got a bunch of useless knowledge stuck in my head that's not useful in 99% of any other situation.
And there's
if
so
you
many
ask
fewer
me-
people to talk to about it in real life.
Exactly.
That share that. So yeah, when you can get together,
Exactly.
it's fun.
Yep, and that's why we have these outlets, like these podcasts and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, and reach out with the community. I do have one more question. Have you 3D printed anything that's like not Star Wars? Have you started doing just some stuff like for your personal life, like something like in the kitchen that you're like, I need something in the kitchen, just something like that.
I need a hammer.
Yeah, I actually made a file. I've been trying to figure out what to do with it because I did actually do like a TikTok style video of creation from start to finish. I made a little TV, or like it's the Simpsons TV, like the pink and purple Simpsons TV, and it fits my iPad Mini perfectly in it. So it crops it down to that original 4:3 ratio of the original things, and it really just looks like the TV from the Simpsons is playing episodes of the Simpsons. And that was the one I was referencing before that I like had the idea, and by 2 p.m. the next day it was done. Mm-hmm. And I sent my brother a video of it, and he was like, "What the hell?" He's like, "That's weird. How did you like? That was way too fast." And right now I've got a file printing for a friend that it looks like a hand sticking out of your wall that holds your wallet and keys and stuff. Cool. And he sent me a thing of it today, and I just found the file on Thingiverse, which is like the free file database. Which I've got a lot of files on there. So if you 3D print and you're interested in like testing some of my designs and seeing how they work, same Landspeeder Luke on Thingiverse, and you can find some of my files there. And every once in a while I'll print some stuff, and it's really handy for like I have a laundry cart, and one of the bolts, like one of the wheels just popped off and I lost the bolt. And so I just like measured it, found one up on Thingiverse, printed it, plugged in it was like, okay, 12 millimeters wide, just plug in 12 into the thing. And maybe 20 minutes later, it's screwed on, and it's lasted. It's been 2 years. I have not even had to tighten it.
Awesome.
Because they're like a softer plastic than metal, like they actually hold a little bit better for in certain cases. They'll also snap much easier, but yeah, that's held together. Like, I have one of those smart locks on my door, and it comes with the different adapters for different types of locks. So I installed the one I needed, tossed the rest, and then I moved. And so I needed this particular adapter, and sure enough, someone had sculpted it up and was able to just print that. And literally small pieces like that take 10, 20 minutes. And so it's just like, you just think of it and it's in your hand 20 minutes later.
That's awesome.
Pretty fun. So yeah, so there are some practical reasons to do it. And then I've also had, like a friend of mine makes perfumes, and he was like, I need something to hold these tiny little vials for samples, like these little 1 ounce glass bottles. And so I just was like, okay, just measure the thing and let me know how tall it is. And I was able to just like design something and print off 3 of them that hold like 20 of them each for him. And he came and picked them up the next day. I even put his logo on the side of them. That's cool. And then it's like, and then you can charge like, hey, just pay me, $15 each or something. And you're like, okay, there's my filament cost for the month, taken care of.
It's like having a replicator in Star Trek. Like,
yeah. Yeah, there's
but slower. And not food, not edible.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
We're getting there.
There are weeks that go by where I don't print anything, especially if because I'll get on these rolls where I'll like have 4 designs printing at once, and then I'll paint them all in the same day and just post them, space them out a little bit. So there's times when the printers are just sitting there, and I'm just like thinking of all the people that hit me up, being like, hey, can I get one of these? And I'm like, they're just sitting there wasting space. But in order to keep it fun, I can't overwhelm myself with like printing everything that everyone requests.
It makes sense. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell all the listeners where they can find you and
Landspeeder Luke on Instagram, and then also you just go to landspeederluke.com to get links to my Patreon, and I've got a little shop on there if you're interested in the Black Series pin. If they start selling really well, I would love to make those blue and orange boxes, because I've got the designs. They're real cute.
You heard it here. If you guys buy enough of these really awesome pins,
and I dropped the price on them, so they're I think $5 cheaper than they were. So sorry if you bought one a month ago, but
raise the price, and then we'll have a special Black Series Cantina discount
coupon code.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's do it. If you use code Cantina, you get free shipping.
Boom! Look at that.
Boom! Look at that.
I'll go make it happen right now.
Yep.
Look at that.
Yep. There we go.
Mike,
free shipping. Yep. And me, I'm at Trusty Sidekick on Instagram, Mike Case on YouTube, and Mike Case 82 on the TikTok. If you want to go see that sexy sax video that I made. That's all the cool stuff I did. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of videos recently. I did the Cantina, or not Cantina. I did the Creature Pack. I did the Jet Trooper. I've just done a bunch of stuff. Go check them out. They're fun. So that's what I got going on. Yep.
And you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's the same name at the Star Wars Black Series. You can also email us, blackseriescantina@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter now.
Yes, you can. It's at BS Cantina, I think it was.
BS Cantina. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, also we have a YouTube, which we might post something. You never know. Just go subscribe there just in case.
Yeah.
We have a Patreon. Everybody knows we have Patreon. So if you're not a Patreon member, if you would like to become a member, go to our Patreon, and we would really appreciate that. We have 24 right now, so we have a really good community over there. So we appreciate it if you join.
We might even do giveaways in the future for Patreon members. So who knows?
And just, I'm not going to do it yet. And then also remember code Cantina for
free shipping.
For free shipping on this fantastic pin
right there
from Landspeeder Luke. Everybody go buy yourself a 3D printer and then buy all this Landspeeder Luke stuff on Patreon.
The pins are $7 right now with free shipping, so you can't beat.
Boom! We can't get better.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm a little bummed that I don't get to listen to a new episode this week.
You're in it.
I am
listen to yourself.
I listen back every episode, so I'd recommend.
Yeah, I'll probably give this a listen and then never do another podcast again. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm gonna be like, that's my voice.
You get used to that real quick though, but it is weird at first. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.